So good evening, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to be here. We are very excited and honored to have Dr. Anuradda Ganesh with us for our role model for women in STEM series. So also just to give you a brief idea about our organization for those who are attending for the first time, the Pune Knowledge Cluster is an organization established by the Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India. We are one of 6 knowledge clusters in the country. And our aim is to act as an enabler. We bring various types of organizations, industry, academia, NGOs, civic bodies together to work for the betterment of the city and the state, leveraging science and technology strengths. A program that is very close to our heart is a Women in STEM program, through which we do have several initiatives under this program, and one of them is supporting women students in the areas of chemistry and sustainability with scholarships, with stipends, and also with certain grants for them to carry out research projects. While we do this monetarily, our focus also is to help them find mentors, for them to help them find role models in the science and technology space. As you know, I think there aren't well, there are quite a few, but there aren't enough women in this space that we can look up to say that we want to emulate, or we want to, sort of get inspired by them from a career perspective. But I think we cannot talk about somebody's journey just by talking about their careers, because it is, especially if you're a woman, it is highly interlinked with, how in your personal life too. So in that context is how we started this series, and this series essentially aims to bring forward the journey of women of various fields in the STEM space. And it's conducted in an informal conversational format, which helps the audience relate to women professionals, understanding their successes, understanding their failures, and most importantly, understanding their learnings and how they were able to make a mark in this field. In that context, I think our special guest today, Dr. Anuradda Ganesh, holds a PhD from the Indian Institute of Delhi in gasification of biomass. Prior to that, she holds a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering, again, not a space which is known for a lot of women to participate, and I'm sure she will tell us about that during her journey. For about 25 years and more, she was the professor in the Indian Institute of Bombay, and also the head of the Department of Engineering Science and in the Institute. And she currently serves as the Chief Technical Advisor and Director at Cummins Technologies India Private Limited. We hope you enjoy this session. We see a very diverse participation from students, faculty members, and very happy to see men on this forum too. And so we hope that you enjoy this session. We hope you ask a lot of questions. Please don't be shy. Please feel free to ask her questions about her journey, about her research, about anything that you would like to ask her during the course of the session. A few administrative announcements. Please keep yourself on mute during the course of the session. Do type in all your questions into the chat box. At the end of the session, we will be opening it up for you to verbally also ask your questions. With that, I request Dr. Ganesh to provide a brief introduction to herself and her, how she started her journey. Over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Priya. And it's a pleasure and it's an honor to be with all of you to share my experiences. I think I am nearing 60. So this is the time when we can, consolidate all that happened and, maybe make it a story to tell you all. And hopefully there'll be some parts of it which will inspire you or at least help you take decisions. That's why I'm here, and I'm really looking forward to you people asking a lot of questions, and I can respond to that. Let me introduce myself as Anuradda, and I have. Okay, to start with, let me say, yes, I have been very fortunate because I was allowed to dare. I think that's the bottom line. I mean, if I really look back, what is it which has helped me reach where I have? I will say I dared to do many things, and I was extremely fortunate where people did not pull me down. I wouldn't say people did not pull me down. I think a better way of saying it is I had people at home who would push me up, or, just push me out, do it sort of thing. So I'm a Tamilian, and I was born and brought up but at Delhi. My father was a professor in IIT Delhi, and he was a very strict professor, so strict that even during when my mother used to make the plates, I was forced to recite the tables or the Sanskrit shlokas or something. I was not allowed to waste any time. So I used to hate being at home. I used to run away from home for every small thing, every music, every dance show, anything that I could get out, I would go out. But then it's somewhere deep inside, I think a discipline was brought in. Don't waste time, do something. So that's how my childhood was, very strict. But at the same time, when I was while growing, I realized, and I think me and my mother became the best friends. And she was very, very clear. She's saying, till you don't get a job, till you are not earning, you're not getting married. That's what was told to me right from the beginning. Because on one side, my grandmother would say, oh, now she is 18 years, get her married. Now she's 19. Why are you not getting her married? Why is she doing PhD? Why is she doing all this? So that's the home from where I've come. My father saying, do everything yourself. My mother saying, you must be on your own. And I had my grandmother saying at home, nothing doing, they are all foolish, you should get settled. So I had all of them at home. That's what I'm trying to say. I lived in a place where I had all sort of people pulling me in different sides, but I knew all the time what I wanted. I never planned, but I knew what I wanted. Having said that, I did my schooling at Kendriya Vidyalaya IIT. So the bell used to ring almost just when it's going to ring. I would go to school, study, come back. All my friends used to come home for lunch, and we would go back. I always had friends at home. My door was always open for friends. My parents were like parents to so many people, but that only meant that I was exposed to different type of people, no doubt, but they were all children of IIT professors. So we all thought alike. You realize that though you think you're meeting many people, you're all thinking alike. All parents would say study, 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 study. All parents would say that you should come first. All parents would say that you should take science. That's what I'm coming to. Now, all parents would say, because they are all IIT professors, and they all would say, take science. All right, take engineering. Mathematics, you should be very good at. These are three statements. If not engineering, they would say do medicine. There was nothing else left out. All right, this is it. And my friend, my juniors, my seniors, everyone was only talking about it. Right. So that definitely had an influence, that is what I have to do. But that was not the liking. Where the liking came in from, and this is what I want to tell you. The liking came in because I used to sit with my mother in the kitchen and study, and I would keep asking her, why are you cutting these things so small? And she would say, otherwise your father will say it'll take ages to cook. I didn't understand it at that time. I didn't understand the concept of surface area and the heat transfer. I did not understand that, but later I did. Later I did a lot, I realized. So that was small way. How do you cut an apple? My father would say, how are you cutting an apple? You should start from that corner, on the pointed place, and then do like this. I didn't understand why he said that, but I realized that all those things were imbibing science into me. And believe me, these small things, just think about it. These small things are empowering you to do things properly, efficiently, without even you realizing it. Anyway, I went ahead and I wanted to do research in biochemical at that time. That's all that we had, because my grandmother had cancer, and I felt there is a lot of research which needs to be done. But then my father wanted me to be an engineer, and well, I joined chemical engineering because I still wanted to be in chemical. I was the only girl in my class of 60. I'm sorry, we were two girls in the class of 60. One of them was a day scholar, so we just saw her in the class and then she would go back home. And I was there amongst the other 59 boys. And well, it was I would say, it was tough, but it was fun. All right. So you were pampered because anything you wanted, you just had to tell them. But at the same time, there were many things where, no, 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 you are a girl, so you stay away. Especially, those workshops where you would have to make a hexagonal thing. You have to heat it, Smithy. That came in my final year exam. And all the boys were standing watching, and tum to kari nahi paogi. And then they would also feel bad. Hum laga de tumhe ek do hathoda maar de types, So we have to face all that. That's okay. You say it, but I'll keep doing it. It's an exam. I'm going to do it. And I did it and I got very good marks. So it's okay. So these are small challenges. You don't even realize. Only when you think it's a challenge do you think, do you realize it's a challenge? It's not. It's just that, okay, you keep saying, I'll keep doing types. I finished my bachelor's of in chemical engineering from Punjab University. And then I came back to IIT Delhi, joined Indo-US project more because I was fascinated by converting rice husk into ash. So that waste to energy thing really caught my attention. And Professor P.D. Grover, who was my guide, I saw him working there and I requested him to take me in the project. It was daily wages. My father hated it. He said, you are really letting me down. But that work was very interesting. So I said, it's okay. If you have only a daily wage post, I will do it, but I want to do it. And then I worked for 1 year in daily wages. And then I applied for PhD and I competed and I managed to get, I was the last one to scrape in. That time there was no gate and all. And then I did my PhD in gasification. And then I joined IIT Bombay as a faculty. So I'll stop here and I'll let you ask more questions, Priya.
Thank you. So I think just start you since I'll start from the back. You spoke about your PhD. I mean, in 1980, correct me if I'm wrong, is that when you started your PhD?
84, 88.
84 to 88. Okay. All right. How did you decide that you wanted to work on something that was biomass related? Was this very, very early at that time to be thinking about biomass? Was there a lot of work being done in this area at that time?
Okay, that's what okay, very interesting question. I was the first one across the globe in the world to characterize biomass for gasification and pyrolysis to start with. Okay, and this happened because my professor was working on extraction of chemicals from biomass. All right. And that was very fascinating. That's what drew me to, the biomass. And then that concept of waste, converting waste to energy was, very compelling. Believe me, it was a call from within when I saw my professor doing, talking about it. People had just started talking about using biomass as for chemicals and energy. And it was compelling, I tell you. And that's the time when he got a project also. So it just happened. I think it was a call. I saw him doing it and I was stuck with him. I used to go every day and say, no, you give me a job. I want to work on that. So he said, I have only a peon's position, which is daily wages. I said, it's okay. Let me do that job, but let me work in this area. That's what 1 year, 12 rupees, 80 paise per day is what I earned. And every week I used to stand in the queue to get my salary, but I think it was worth it. So passion takes you anywhere.
And how much of this was an influence of what you studied in your bachelor's or your master's that led up to you having the kind of information that you had to make that decision that this is what you want to work on? Now, the reason I'm asking you this is, and I think there are some questions on chat also related to this, which we will take, is for a lot of students making that decision, or a lot of them don't know what is it that they want to do. They know that they want to pursue research, but they're not very clear in what or the specifics of it. How much of what you studied in your formative years of your education led up to you saying that, because you said, you're very passionate about it, this was a calling, which means it must have been so compelling to say that, or you were so clear or certain by the time you were, in your 20s, when you were doing your PhD, which is again a very, very young age, to know that this is what you wanted to do, when not a lot of people were working on this in India. So how did your formative years help you in making that decision?
So I tell you what, I have always taken decisions very impulsively. All right. When I say impulsively, I'm not saying, oh, I want to do this and I go and do that. It's not that impulsive when I say. It's just that you are, if you are always you don't plan. The problem today that girls are that they want to plan their life. No, don't. Just go by it. You plan a little. I'm not saying you should not be organized, you should not plan, but you can't plan to the, to the last thing. So I knew I want to do something in chemistry, right? I was very clear. That's what my formative years told me. I loved the equations. My teacher taught us, we went for a competition where we converted a carom board into, those coins were C and two O's. So we used to make CO2, make H2O, those coins wise. So it was very fascinating. Teachers make a huge difference. Actually, teachers really make a huge. School teachers are the ones who really set an impression on your brains. I strongly believe in that. Okay. And my chemistry teacher was very good. And I know I have friends who said the physics teacher was good and they pursued that because at that age, that's what helps. Okay. Something in chemistry. Acha hai. So I took up chemical engineering. Otherwise, everything else was in Punjab Engineering College. Punjab Chemical Engineering was the only one. And I had no thought ki yahan women jate hain, nothing. I just knew chemical engineering because that chemical word was there. All right. So it was fun. And then when I was doing that, the last year you do a project, right? So I went exploring for projects and you have no idea. It's these days, children, they just say, okay, what is a project which have been put up? You can go beyond that. I didn't take any of the projects which were put up by the list. I actually wanted to explore. So I went to various schools. I remember IIT Delhi, of course, was open to me. I was lucky in that way. But my father was in civil. It was not easy for me to walk into any lab or anything like that. So I was just going and seeing what this professor is doing, what is he doing. And that time there was no Google and all. No, so you literally have to go meet, see, and then. So it's just that it strikes, it fascinates. And what I mean to say is even today, I think the young girls are, you don't need to today, but just be open. You will get it soon. Okay. The problem is we are floating most of the time. And it like my daughter, let me come to the next generation. When my daughter took up what she wants, she took some time. Okay. She did her science because I was very particular that you have to do science till 12th. Afterwards, you take whatever you want. All right. She said, no, I want to do literature. All right. She did literature because she was wonderful. Then she said, okay, it's good. I'm not going to earn a living out of literature. I want to do something on environment. She got the scholarship. She went for carbon management 1 year and she was sure that no, that's not the calling. It's too early. And it took her time. She did some job in energy. Then she went and did some interns. That's the time it struck her that maybe law is her calling because she saw a few things there and she got it. Then she did law and today she's a very successful lawyer. So don't be in a hurry. Don't get panicked that you don't know what to do. You don't know it. Unless you don't keep your mind open, you will never know what you have to do. So I think the panic which the children have today, hurry. So they are not open. They're just closed to everything. That's my take. I think you just, and I would say this to parents also, I think you should just allow them to think a little more. It's very important that they do that. And it's very important for you to be on a lookout. Just see what interests you. Go a little deeper into it. You will know whether you want to, that's your passion or not. We don't go deep these days. We just do everything superficial. And then we are wanting to compete. We want to go in for this competition. Where do you have the time to know whether you like it or not? So I mean, this is my take, Priya, on it. I think you just need to be open and be happy, just be on a lookout, be happily study something. That word happy, and you're just open to it. Something strikes and you do it.
Yeah, I think the key take home is happily studying something. I think, I think that's important. So tell me, why research? I mean, you did your PhD and you could have got a job. I'm sure there were industries, and chemical engineering is a very, very viable area for industry employability. What made you decide that you wanted to continue doing research?
Okay. I wanted to take up a job only. Let me tell you that. All right. I wanted to take up a job. And I gave my first interview. It was Charatram and Bharatram at that time, Shriram Industries, okay, sugar industries. And I think it was Bharatram who took my interview and said, "Oh, young lady, you're very good, but I can't give you this job because it's a floor job." I didn't get that job. And he would have said, "I'm no good." Probably I would have kept quiet. But he said, "You're very good, but you're a woman. You don't get the job." My first hit that I was a girl was when I was selected, but yet rejected. Okay. That's the time when I thought, okay, I'm not letting it. I'm going to get a job. Okay. They are going to call me for a job. So I will get myself more equipped for it. All right, that's the time when I decided, all right, I'm not applying for any more interviews. I have to do something different. It was not PhD. I said, I'm going to do something different. And that's where I went exploring. And I told you I had liked this project. I said, okay, let me do it myself. Let me go and ask Professor Grover if he will help me do it. Then I saw he's doing a project. I said, at that time also, I didn't want to do PhD. I was just working on that project because it was making me happy. And I was on daily wages. I was still thinking what I'm going to do with this. All right. And that's the time when it struck me, okay, I can do PhD, then I can work on this more. While doing PhD, I realized that I like teaching. So that's what I'm saying. Don't plan everything now. You will discover yourself. Sometimes you can do it earlier. I'm not denying it. Someone is inspiring you and doing it. My father inspired me in everything, inspired me in being very confident, but he definitely didn't inspire me to be a teacher, or a professor, because at that time, these things don't strike you. Your father is a professor in IT. I never even thought of it, believe me.
And so what did you like most about teaching?
Learning. Even today, I love teaching because that's the way I read the subject, and I get so many case studies, and I love to teach and love to explain, because that teaches me more and I become more educated on that. Honestly, I love teaching because I love learning.
And how was your initial, experience? As I said, you were in IT Bombay for a very long time. How was your experience as being a woman faculty in such a prestigious institution, which doesn't really boast of a very high gender ratio? And what was it like during your time? Have things changed? And what was your experience like when you joined?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. One, I had a very senior, strict professor, lady professor, IC engines professor, as my senior. Okay. And she was a great teacher, but she was a very tough woman. And I was awed by her, believe me. When I joined as a professor, I said, oh my God, she's doing IC engines. See, I was a chemical engineer. I was nowhere near engines, but I joined the energy department. And all the applications of the research that I did was in IC engines. All right. But then I had to teach turbines. I had to teach energy management, waste heat recovery. And I, as a chemical engineer, gasification, so I had to read a lot. I had to go to the industries, see it. So this professor, Professor Parekh, I owe her so much, both in terms of making me feel very scared and very nervous that I don't think I can ever be a good teacher. From there to pushing me to the corners, pushing me to such an extent that she would say, okay, go open up an engine and put it back. No one will help you. That was the first assignment I got. All right. So that was how I learned to be tough. On the other side, I was young and IIT students were young. So it wasn't easy to teach a class of 60 to 90. It changed from 60 to 90 around that time. All right. And you go there as a young professor, you teach. I've had all sort of things there. They put a frog in the chalk box and all those things, ragging, if you want to call it, all those things happened. But yes, I think the learning is what kept me going, believe me. And it wasn't easy. It was very tough because I was the only, other than professor who was senior, I was the only other, or maybe yes, one more who was a very quiet person. I was the youngest who joined there. So it was a lot of competition and At that time, there was not even a good ladies' toilet. Let me be very honest. At that time, we had to fight for that. We had to say every floor should have one. They had one in some corner and wouldn't be. So all that we have to go through. And then me being in IC engines, then, you go to the engine and they are all men. And it wasn't easy to tell them. They won't even believe that you know anything. Are ye lady ko kya aata hai? From there to today, respecting me and saying if I'm there, they would stand and they'd do whatever I ask. You have to work your way in that. Okay, it's not just credibility, but to show that as a woman, you are a good teacher, you know the subject. That respect you have to work for it. It wasn't easy. It's much easier today. There are so many women faculty today, so many of them. So it was tough, but it was fun.
So I think, I think that's like a very intense career path. Now tell me, when did you get married? How did you make time for it in between all of this? And
Okay.
tell us a little bit about how you chose your life partner.
All right. Oh, that was a very easy choice. My mother said, what type of a boy do you want? And I was very clear. I said, I think I need someone who can laugh in life, who can, and who's a self-made person. That's all that I wanted. I don't want someone to say, mere ghar mein bahut paisa hai. At that time, you see, today things are different, but remember those days where, they will look for educated person, a government job, so I was very clear. I said, anything is okay, but that person has to be self-made person, and that person should be able to appreciate jokes and laugh at life, in life. Somehow because my father was very strict. And my mother would laugh and be very happy. And I used to have a lot of fun with my mother, though my father taught me everything, but he was very strict and very serious. So I always wanted a husband who would be very, very, and he comes from a relative, my mother's side, but a very self-made, a wonderful human being. Wonderful, believe me. And you won't find, he never talks about women liberation, he never talks about all that, but he does everything to support me. He wasn't like that. He comes from a very orthodox family. And I think this is the time for me to tell you all folks, I think communication is the most important thing in life. Most important thing. If you're able to communicate correctly to your spouse, to your family, to your extended family, the most important job is done. Because otherwise, what happens most of the time, you expect that person to understand. And that person might not understand. Why don't you just say it out? And my husband was one who didn't know all this. He comes from a very orthodox family where, wives would do everything, get things ready for the husband to get ready and go to the office, get the food. And I come from a family where my father would help my mother in everything. All right. He was serious. All right. He was very angry all the time, but I have seen him helping my mother. But when I got married, he was from a very orthodox family. But from where to where? Today I'm in Pune and he's there alone. And I stayed in Pune for 7 years, and he stayed in every weekend. He used to travel from Mumbai to Pune. All right. But he allowed that because he knew this is good for my career. And he also knew I'm taking care of my father. So I think communication really helped. And it didn't happen overnight. It took time. Believe me, it took time. I had to speak to him. I had to speak to his people. They were all puja. Are, aaj Varalakshmi puja hai, you have not come home. Like gone to Madras. Today it is Amavasya, you're doing this today. How can you travel? Today is this. But then, when they saw me working, and when I told them, then I told them, I said, your children go to school, right? Imagine the teacher taking chutti for everything. Would you not say that the course is not over? Would you not say the teacher is not well? So I'm a teacher. So do you understand? And I teach big children. So it took me time, but each one of them from their family understood. And I really appreciate them for that. But communication is important.
So I think there are related questions to this on the chat box, and I'll start with Niti's, who asks, as someone who enjoys spending hours at the lab, being a lone wolf mostly, how should one balance between personal and professional life? How do we tell our brain to shift from research to just spending an hour with our families?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. You have chosen to have a family, ma'am. So the moment you make a choice, you have to make it right. All right. I believe that whatever you have chosen to do, all right, whatever work you're doing, put your full at that point. All right. Research, it'll be there in your mind. Of course, the eureka moments always happen and it's always there, but that doesn't mean, or even for yourself, you need that break. But family is something which you have chosen. So you have no other option but to give time. And not because you're forced to. The moment you think it's a choice that I love to be with my family, you will be able to do that. And I do that. And I believe, and I always say that, many women come and tell, oh, we are forced to leave everything. We are forced to take care of children. No, just imagine how would you feel if someone else says, don't worry, I'll take care of your children. You just forget it. They won't like it. They really won't like it. They would like their child to be theirs. And therefore, please choose. And if you have chosen, please live by it. That's the way I'll put it.
We have some questions from a person who I think has 44 Bairak BIG. Can you please rename yourself, and then we will let you ask your question. I think there's another question from Neeti which says, sometimes failures in our project affects our self-belief. Like a project might seem theoretically perfect on paper, but practically when we are not able to achieve the goal, it affects us. So how do you think we can stay motivated and keep going at it? I'm assuming she means in research.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. So this has happened many times. Okay. If you're it's not just for yourself. The moment you start understanding that you learn something by your failure, then you will not get affected by it. You have to figure out why it failed. The moment you know why it failed, then you know your next step forward, right? So if you think failure somewhere there is your failure, no, it is not. It's because there's something which you did not know, and it's now your time to learn it and then take the next step. Okay. Or learning could be in terms of subject, learning could be in terms of planning, learning could be that you were not you had not thought all over it. So that's fine. I think that's the way you have to take it. I do that. Again, this is one Dr. Aina Puri, who's a doctor in IIT. She taught me. I was very sensitive. I also used to have migraine headaches because of this. You do one mistake, be it in the office or anywhere, and I'd keep thinking about it. She said at night, and rather just think of all that happened, goods and bads. Think of the goods and say, oh God, thank you so much. Be grateful. And I will keep doing good things. And if something has gone wrong, think, is it because of you or is it because of someone else? If it's because of someone else, you can't do anything, just pardon and sleep. But if it's because of you, just say, okay, this is what mistake I have done. I won't repeat it again. That's it. Thank you, and sleep. So the moment you clear it that night, it doesn't trouble you the next day.
I think we have a question from Dr. Bipasha Bose. Since you have a long question, can I request you to unmute yourself and ask your question, please?
Okay. Am I allowed to do so? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Am I being seen as Bairak BIG?
Not anymore, ma'am. We've seen your name now as Dr. Bipasha Bose.
Okay. I have a couple of questions, madam. Actually, I also come from similar background like yours. Studied in Kendriya Vidyalaya, strict parents. Dad was in government All India transferable job in Ministry of Defense, and then I lived in all parts of country. And I did my bachelor's, master's, JNU master's, PhD from Tata Memorial, Mumbai, and then postdocs from abroad. And then I chose to take up a job in a remote corner of the country, Mangalore, in a private university called Yanapaya University, because I had the opportunity to work with the people, especially the teach and mentor the students for their PhD, especially the girls who come from a not so much opportunity available background. And then now I have been able to do a bit of justice by mentoring them. So that we can bring them at par with the girls who get a lot of opportunities like you and me. But I want to know your insights so that I can do it better. This is one question. Then I will ask the next one.
All right. So first of all, fantastic. Congratulations for the wonderful work that you're doing.
Thank you so
this is probably the right way to do. I can just share an experience. For 5 years in my life, in between, I decided to use the science that I know for technology development for the rural areas. I just thought, okay, 5 years, that's what I'm going to do. And that's a time when I worked on charcoal unit and I worked on an engine development. That's how I got to know about Cummins also. And when I'll tell you, when we wanted to electrify a village it was a remote village in Orissa. Uh, First of all, it was very difficult to go there. I can show you some photographs. I have some. It was very difficult. We had to actually cross a canal and go. And then when we went there and we identified the place and all, we had to talk to the local people, right? So that they accept it. We had to have the poles ready and we wanted them to collect the seeds. It was made out of oil. It was running out of oil. There was so much resistance, so much resistance. But somewhere inside the houses, the women used to peep out of the house and, they would listen. So one day I thought enough is enough. I think these men are never going to listen to me. So I called one of the local persons who knew Uriya. And I said, I know you can't talk. You bring your wife and just speak to these ladies and tell them that we want to do something like this. And I don't know what they talked. They said, okay, but how do we know that you have not come for your own, like you want to earn something out of it, sort of. So that question would have come from men also, but it didn't. That's okay. So now she was very clear. She said, ma'am, Anuradda, if you want to do something here, you have to mingle with them. Now, what was a mingle? They had that dance, where they would hold each other and do that dance together. And from one corner to the other corner, where dum dum dum, they would dance. I thought, ठीक है, थोड़ा करते हैं. Arey, they were so powerful. They went on, and I'm asthmatic. After some time, I was panting, but no, they wanted me to come the whole distance. It was fun, but it was difficult because I was panting for breath. After that, they opened up. Okay, so they said, yes, we'll do it. And you won't believe, I'll show you some photographs. That entire project was done by women. And the entire engine, they would collect seeds, they would de-seed them, they would operate the engine. They knew how to use a mobile. They would call up if there was a problem. And it was all those machines and those buttons, everything they knew, because their men would, they had that rice water alcohol that they would make, and they would be drunk. That's all that they were doing. So these women did everything, but I'll tell you where they were happy. Can I share my screen?
Yes, please.
One minute, let me just. Where is my slide? Where is my slide? Where is it gone? Okay. Show all windows. Okay, can you see this?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this was the I told you the charring units, which we had taken to the remotest areas where we had put it. This was before that electrification project. And, in Hamirpur, we put this, and it was so nice. There were lantana weeds which were there in the forest. The women would go remove those weeds, come to us, we would convert it into charcoal, and they would use it for their sigdi. That was their put. So this was one. But here, of course, this was the village. Just look at it. It was really a remote village. This was the type of houses they had. This is how dark, and they would cook like this. And if you see, this was a part, this was a canal, and water would, this was monsoon time, it would come till here. And we had to cross this, and we actually had, these were the local men who would just go on listening and do nothing about it, and these were the roads. The road would start because what do you call it? Infrastructure development was done by the government. So the road would come to about 10 kilometers and then stop. After that, it was like real bad road, just to show. This is the Pungamia seeds. I just thought I'll show you. And this is the way we took. So when it was hard work, the men were happy. Oh, aajao, because we would give them 200 rupees per day. So for that time, the men would come. So we used to pay them for making the building and all that. And then I'll show you, wait, see this. So this is me here in the blue, and these are the other women who actually, the two women, these were the main Mukhia's wives and all. They actually learned how to operate the whole thing. And in the end, on 15th August 2010, when we got the lights on, I don't know if before I show this, let me show you if that photo is there. I don't know if it's there. Looks, yeah. You see this girl here behind holding a school bag. She was taking her younger brother to the school. She was not allowed because she had to help her mother in the farm and all. And she was so happy in the end that she and her sister, they were all sitting and studying at night, because daytime, now they had to go and work, but night, because lights were there, they could study. And this is what gives you satisfaction. So Bipasha, honestly, if you are doing such good things, if you can touch even 3 people's lives, believe me, that's a great feeling. One person's life is a great feeling. Just keep doing what you're doing and keep getting motivated by their smiles is what I'll say. Okay, if that helps you.
Yeah, actually, we have minority Muslim girls over here, and it's a big challenge to work with them because they get married at a very early age. I have a girl with me, she is a CSIR net qualified with 60 All India rank. She joined her PhD at the age of 32, and she has a one kid, and she's doing wonderful, like all international quality research she's doing in the field of cancer biology under my guidance. And then she plans to go abroad, and then she
so I must tell you here, I had a student intern who came, who was a Muslim, who was married. She would come in the, she would come with all her burqa and all, but she would do very good work. But she was not well treated at home. And I had to mentor, I had to talk to her for years, three years, and I made her come out of it. I said, you have to fight for yourself, for your children. Otherwise, the same thing your children are going to go through, 3 girls. And today, of course, she went to Dubai with him, and then he left her. So she then did something on her own. Today, she's a lecturer in London University. And she's really come out. So whatever you're doing, Bipasha is going to get you to see people doing very well. So don't get demotivated. It's a wonderful job that you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And then a couple of more questions, quick ones.
I think we can have others also.
Others, yeah, it's been long. Yes, no problem. Others.
Yeah.
I think there's a question from Monica Joshi, which says, how do you keep yourself positive and motivated every day in every situation?
One doesn't remain motivated all the time. You have to remember, oh my God, I am down. Let me come out of it. And you have to come out of it. Everyone goes through everyone has their share of ups and downs, my dear. But when you are down, it's okay. 1 or 2, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, let yourself be down. It's okay. But then you just have to remember that this can't go on. So move on.
So what do you do to unwind? What are your interests beyond science?
Oh, you will not believe when I say that I love cooking. And I tell you, cooking is the best thing to do in life, because when you're doing that, you can't afford to think anything else. Otherwise, you'll make a mistake. So you can't make a mistake. So cooking is one. I was a dancer till 2007. I used to dance. So when I was very upset, I used to close the room and set down some Carnatic music. And I was a classical dancer. That is one way of doing it. I couldn't do that for long because I had a back injury. The other thing which I like, and now you will not judge me when I say that, I love to watch some good serials on TV. Believe me, they are stress busters because you don't need to think. It's okay to say it is useless. Good, it's useless. But you're just thinking, you're not thinking, you're just seeing such useless things maybe. But there are some where you learn a lot, believe me. Okay, there are few of my favorites. I will not tell them, then you'll judge me. So this, and listen to Indian Idol, listen to music, YouTube. I listen to lot of music. That keeps me very happy. I'm a music lover and a Bharatanatyam dance lover. So I watch dance performances. I listen to music. I like to cook. I like to talk. I pick up the phone and I connect with people. I love to talk. So I'm in touch with so many of my friends.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that also stresses the importance of having things to do in your life other than your work.
Yes, very
Yeah.
much. And your me time.
Yeah.
Me time is very, very important. Someone asked, no, like, I don't like to be, I want to do research. Come out of that research, come out of the family, take, half an hour for yourself. And that me time could be talking to your friends. Me time could be just sitting and, cooking. Cooking is a me time. Me time does not mean you sit down and think about yourself. No, me time is where you want to be alone and enjoy. I don't go for walk with my husband. He keeps cribbing. I want to go alone. It might be 15 minutes, but I go for, if I have to go with him, after that 15 minutes, I will join him. But me time is me time.
So tell us, I think you mentioned about the first instance where you realized that you were not maybe privileged to get a job that a man would have got because of the circumstances under which the people who were hiring were. I mean, you might have encountered situations like that in other ways and forms throughout your career where maybe, you were differentiated because you were a woman. How did you deal with it? Like, in the sense, there are many ways people deal with it. Some are confrontational, some of them deal with it by being silent, but also very resilient and working at the back end to make sure that there are reforms and changes, etc. And sort of gradually are part of a larger movement. How did you deal with situations like that?
So actually, it's very contextual. There are places where I have confronted. Okay. One of the biggest confrontations was at home when at the age of 13, 14, when you hit the puberty, then I was learning dance and my grandmother said, no more dancing for her, over, period. And I really fought with her. And my mother couldn't say anything at that time because she wasn't sure what will happen. Like, if she dances, will it be difficult for her? My mother also didn't understand. And my father in this thing did not know what to do because it was a women thing, like mother is saying, I can't, my wife is keeping quiet. He just didn't know what to do. And I really fought. I didn't even cry. I said, I'm going to do what you want. Every day I used to go to the dance class. Then my father realized that I'm bent on it. And then he came with me to the dance teacher and came and said, okay, when is the Arangetram? He never said she's going to leave. Everyone at home thought he's going to say, ab nahi aayegi. He went and said, tell me, when is the Arangetram? So that place you have to confront. And where there are too many people and you speaking out is only going to worsen situation, you keep quiet and start working on the reforms. And there are some places where you keep quiet because it's public, and then take on the person next time. And there are some places where when it's a big system thing, like, why PhD, why don't you get married types, and there are many others. Like, so many of my students, believe me, MTech students, toppers, who have come to me, ma'am, till yesterday my parents wanted me to top the class. Today, overnight, they want me to get married and do what my husband wants and leave the job. I don't understand. They are no more my parents. And I have flown down to Delhi from Mumbai to speak to their parents, be there, explain to them. I've stayed for 2 days together. I mean, at the request of my student, of course, and I have done such things also to help them. And I have also sometimes, in a few cases, that I've said, okay, boss, you don't do this for me, fine. You see where I come. I fight it out. And that happened in IIT, where, one of the meetings, my head of the department said, oh, I've kept it at 6 o'clock. I know you have a child at home, you can go. I said, why did you keep the meeting at 6 o'clock? And I can stay. Okay. And at that time, one of the colleagues of mine said, I told them, please finish the meeting on time. I have a child at home. I have to go. That's the time when he said, Are, I also have to take a flight. I have to go. I said, you have a wife who's packing your things, right? I don't have a wife who'll take care of my child. So these things It's very contextual. That's what I'm saying. You don't need to fight all the time. You need to explain, sometimes softly, sometimes seriously, sometimes sarcastically.
No, I think that brings us back to the point you meant about having those conversations and being able
Yeah,
to talk
yeah,
about things being very
yeah,
essential.
yeah,
I have
yeah.
a very interesting question, which was, I think it's come on my chat box here, which says that, see, you have experience working with women in the rural space, where you implemented technologies that would transform their lives. What has been your view of how these women perceive technologies? Are they actually better adopters of technologies when they see value in how it would benefit their lives and in that setting?
Absolutely. They love magic. I tell you, when I took the stoves to them, but they also want advanced technology. Huh? I'll tell you what, they feel very good if they are using what you are using.
Hmm.
Okay. And that was a eye opener for me. So they don't want you to give them stoves. If you give them gas, they are very happy.
Hmm.
Okay. So that is why we gave them a centralized electric thing and switches. They were so happy to switch it on and switch it off. And they were very happy to be empowered. They would run the engine. You should see the smiles on their face. I mean, how do I describe it? All right. So I feel that they're very happy to be empowered. And anything which makes their life easy, they are happy. But it should be sustainable. Otherwise, they don't come to it next time.
Yeah. I think there's one part of your journey we've not talked about, which is your industry experience. Now, for a lot of women, we see that, I mean, and I'm sure this is true of men too, industry is a big black box. In the sense, when you graduate, either whether it's out of your master's or even after your PhD or maybe even after a postdoc, and if you're interested in exploring industry jobs, first of all, it's very difficult to find out what industries actually do in your space. A lot of them are very secretive about what they do. There's this much only they're willing to share outside of their walls, and approaching them, although maybe once you're in, you know that this is a pretty nice space to be in, but till the point that you're able to understand what actually goes on behind those walls, their R&D or their innovation or even just the way they work or what kind of people they are willing to work with, is a huge challenge today across many STEM sectors. I think this is something industries also accept, that they need to be a little more forthcoming and sharing about what they do and make themselves also more accessible. What is your biggest, sort of, how do I say, difference in, you being in the academic space for such a long time and then now being associated with such a leading industry? What do you see as the biggest differences in terms of operations, working culture, or nature of work in both of these spaces?
Okay. Between being an academician in a place like IIT, okay, and then coming to an industry, the biggest difference is decision making. You are the decision maker there. You are responsible for what you're doing. Here it's a teamwork. Okay. And to understand the importance of teamwork and a team decision is not easy for a professor who has always taken decision herself. Okay. And has decided how much money to go and has decided this is what it is. And you take the responsibility also. So you find it very funny. You allow me to take it. What is this? Why are you all discussing? What you're saying is, I mean, you keep waiting for a meeting and all that. Oh my God, it took me a long time to accept it. Believe me, not 1 or 2 months, but 1 or 2 years to accept it. You can call it ego, you can call it ballooned ego or whatever, but academicians, like, they are the master of their subject. They are the expert. No one else can tell anything to them, right? So, which is not here. Teamwork is I call it teamwork now. But when it was imposed on me, I never used to understand the meaning of teamwork. I said, why are they all sitting and judging my work? So that was one. Okay. And then researchers are not used to stopping the research when they know it will not have an application. We are not used to stopping anything, right? And here you have to take a decision. Okay, you now realize this is not going to be a business sense. So we stop this project. Oh my God, I could never believe, because we would never give up there. And here you have to know when to give up and when to take it forward. Okay, that was something which was very different to me. As far as the atmosphere was concerned, probably I was lucky to join a company which has a wonderful environment. I mean, they are very particular about their values, how to speak, and you can't even raise your voice, and the respect they give to women. And in principle, I think I haven't had that issue, very honestly. I do hear that it is not as good outside, but I think my challenges were very different. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that's also very important insights for people trying to understand a work culture in an industry space versus doing research, especially
That
if
is
you're
why
trying
I
to
don't
research.
allow your. That's why when people ask me that do you recommend that we go to an industry, I always tell them go on a sabbatical or learn. But unless you're absolutely sure that you are able to keep your ego in, don't go, because that's the pride of a professor. Yeah.
Any more questions from the audience? We will let you unmute and speak. Please raise your hand if you have a question. Okay, we have one person. Ritika, go ahead.
Uh, Dr. Ganesh, we visited a chemical plant very recently. So it was a very nice place that we had gone in terms of having infrastructure, bathrooms, basic things like, security within the plant. But to my surprise, there wasn't a single woman who was working at the level of the other. So the person at the plant would say, who would come here? But going by today's intake of women in the army and all kind of places where women can match their strength, it seemed that they didn't get either enough applicants or they didn't themselves want to get into security hazards which were associated with women. So do you think India as such would be ready to match up to what the scenario is in other countries where every level has, at least some women who are ready to get out of their houses, wear the boots and do the work if it is, either helping her support her family or if she's interested in the work in any way.
I don't know if I can invite you, but come to Cummins shop floor and you'll find a lot of women there. Okay, so women do work at those places, all right. They work in the shop floor. It's not that they don't, but yes, it is definitely a little extra responsibility, which, facilities and responsibilities. You don't just allow them to go away at 10 o'clock at, 12 o'clock at night, whatever that shift ends, and just say, okay, go home. No, you will need a bus for them to be taking some transport from a remote place. It is required. And some amount of facilities is required, and the government has also made a rule, unless there is one woman can't stay back after 7 or something like that in the Factory Act. With all that, it's just a mindset, and we need to change that mindset. And it's not easy, because you are talking about shop floor. Even in engineering, what do women do? They will, till they get married, they are very into. After that, they take a break. There are so many companies which are offering the second career. How many of us have seen people coming back for the second career? Okay, they have no TK. Once they are at home, chalta hai yaar, it's okay. They themselves decide to stay back. All right. So even at the shop floor level, many times if one girl or two of them are going, they say others that it's good, then people come. But even if it's just the beginning first, first, if we are able to motivate a set of girls, so maybe we should approach the colleges, tell them that we'll take care, taking one person is always difficult. But if you take a few together, and then it goes by word of mouth. And of course, we have to keep discipline. We have to have strict action if someone is misbehaving with them. I mean, 1 or 2 terminations will take care of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have a question from Dr. Sangeeta Saxena. When
Yeah.
we have to opt for industries leaving academic field, what should we carry from our academic career that can give us sustainability to us in industry as well?
I am not sure what can.
I think she wants to probably ask as to what maybe learnings, maybe traits from an academic field that one should carry if they're making a transition from academia to industry. What are those traits that will be useful that you have acquired during your academic career in an industry setting?
Learning, inquisitiveness, proper communication. I think learning all the time, believe me, that will help. People tend to forget that learning always helps. What helps is keep your ego away, and then you can take care. I think continue to learn, continue to explore, team, what do you call that? Perseverance. We are, when we do something, and I think that should be good. Learning is the most important thing in communication. You're so good at communication. You're teaching people there. Here, you just need to, if the audience is big, if the children are big, smaller group, a well-read group, a mix of industry and academia. We keep changing our pattern of communication, right? And that's what I expect you to do here. You, depending on business where you are doing, how you present it to them, to the technical team, to the review team, we are very good at it. We just need to learn their technique, and then we can adapt very fast. So I think learning and communication are two things which are, and discipline, if you can. I don't know, depends. Some people have the discipline, some don't. But I was very disciplined even when I was at IIT. So for me, it was a very good thing out here.
Ishan
Ishan.
Sharma?
Ishan?
Yeah.
Yes. Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
So my basically question was that you have seen your generation, right? And you have seen your daughter's generation. How much has the society as a whole changed with respect to the challenges that women face in a professional environment, especially in STEM?
In STEM, women were
Or in
always,
general, maybe.
things have changed in the sense that I think women have become more confident, and men have accepted them much more than what it was before. I think it's the overall societal thing which only has taken a more modern shape that we need to work on. But if you look at the industries per se, and the acceptance is much better than what it was before. I would say that. I mean, what we went through, and then you have people also. No, I was alone to handle it. Now you are 3 or 4. In a floor, there are so many women, so it becomes easier. Where it is same is the mindset. The traditional mindset. If you get into it, that it keeps coming back again and again. You decide to break, you can. So it's very individualistic. Otherwise, I think in the workplace, things have changed. I'll put it like that. Definitely. And at home also, I think the parents do want the girls to do very well, and they're very happy if they're doing very well. I think so. After marriage, I have seen improvement, but it's my experience with my students and all. Either they are very happy because there is, you must remember that we are, looking at people being equal, and we are not looking at replacement. We are looking at equality, right, in the work. So we have seen many people like that, but we have also seen girls suffering a lot because that acceptance, that is after marriage, and that's at home on the personal level. I see more and more of abuse in different ways. I'm sorry, but I'm actually very worried about it. Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's something which, Priya, we all need to work on. Huh?
Yeah.
Those who are outside are doing very well, but there are many after marriage, I see that are either very good or they really go through a tough time.
Yeah.
Yes, Ritika.
I think that was Ritika's hand raised from previous her previous question.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I mean, sorry, Ishan, if it wasn't a very happy answer for you, but it is true. And I would suggest that, just like we have a lot of women mentorship, we must have men mentorship also.
Yeah, no worries. I just wanted to hear your opinion as to
Yeah.
how you have witnessed things change
Yeah.
and how
Yeah,
much have they changed.
it's been very, this is an observation which has upset me a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Swati?
Yes, Swati, yeah.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, actually, I had a question, but then now I heard you. I would first like to talk about that thing that what you said is also, I am also observing, even though I don't have that much of experience, but I can see like my elder sisters and all of them go through those things. And I am also kind of, even in a negative thought, but I can't just resist myself from thinking these kind of things, because ultimately whatever you do, how much you put the effort in yourself, in your study, whatever kind of sacrifices you do, at the end what society expect is to know everything. Means even you have to study as well, means you have to be in the 21st century, but you have to have qualities of 18th to 19th century. It is not possible having both things at a time. Like if you are expecting that we go for academic things, then you will have to support us as well in those
Yes.
things, because those times there was women's were also a bit, there was less confidence in themselves, and even the opportunities were not that much of broadened as they are now. So we have to just think about the way we I would say that males, they have always got those things from starting, but women's, they are getting these things now. So they are a kind of what to rebelling kind of things are coming in the mind. So that can
Agreed.
be the can be cooperated with mutual understandings.
Agreed. Agreed. I'll just give you one example here. My maid, okay, this is, it's nothing to do with STEM, but it's to do with, my maid was beaten up at home, okay? Every day she would come with something that he's gone drunk and all. So I told her, I said, what are you up to here? You have to come out of it. You have to break loose. I mean, if that person doesn't understand, you have to move up. No, I have a daughter, I have my son, and my daughter would always need, the society will say, if there is a father, then the daughter is safe. I said, but the same daughter will learn this from you, and she'll grow up and she'll think getting beaten up is normal. I mean, what role modeling are you doing? To my surprise, that lady took action, and which was so good. Okay, she decided to throw him out of the house. He won't go, so she went out of the house with the children. That guy became, okay, sorry, come back. He took him. She said, okay, I'm going to give it a chance, because I know for my daughter it's important, but she should know that. And then this person went into some, again, drinking mode and all that. I told her, see, he's not leaving you. You also don't seem to be wanting to, for whatever reason. Why don't you take him to a counselor? At that time, to tell that level of people to say counselor means, are you saying he's mad? That is what I expected her to. She actually took him to a counselor. You will not believe it. KEM hospital, he agreed to come. I don't know how she met. I think she said, either you come or you leave, something like that. And today, 6 months down the line, he is fine, she's fine, and they are happy. I really thank that doctor who must have done a brilliant job. But this lady was really, really, I would say she was very brave, very brave. So you have to decide to break the thing. If you don't do it, your children will think the same way. You have to set an example. You have to ensure that your son and daughter are brought up the same way. Your son knows that cooking is as important as your daughter to be cooking. What I mean to say is, you have to break the cycle somewhere. That is equally, you might fight all that you do, but you yourself have to break the cycle and you have to communicate, my dear. You have to go on communicating and you can't let it go. You can't lose hope. You have to communicate. Today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, someday that person will understand. You have to find ways of communication. Yes. So
Thank you for
does
that.
that answer your question, my dear? Swati, does that answer your question to some extent?
I think you're on mute, Swati. I think she's probably not able to unmute.
Okay.
Chitra, maybe we will take your question.
Hi, Chitra. Good to see you here.
Good to see. It's wonderful to connect with you after a long time.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about the importance of networking for women. Because what I have seen, you know me, I used to work in the IT industry before, and now I'm an entrepreneur for the last 10 years. One thing I have seen regularly is women prefer not to talk about the challenges they are facing, even in the work. Whereas men very easily connect with other people, go and say, hey, you know what, I have this problem, whether when they're smoking or they're in the drinking in some bar, or they talk about their challenges and they're able to find a solution there. Whereas women try to fight it alone. We never spend time on networking with anybody. We are so focused on our work that, okay, 6 o'clock, my work gets over. I would like to rush home and do other things. We don't invest time in networking. So I want you to talk about that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think networking is very, very important for many things. One, it's important to speak out. Two, it is important to hold each other's hands. Okay. And three, I think that's the, you don't get solutions just like that. And you need to help each other. I'm saying all this with some examples. One, I have a friend of mine in Delhi. She was my school friend. I think not a day has passed since we have not talked to each other in the morning for just 10 minutes. Okay. Every day morning, dutifully, we will just pick up the phone and talk. And if I don't talk for 10 days, she knows I'm upset and she'll call me. She said, first she'll not call, she'll wait. She'll know, okay, something. Then when it is 3-4 days, then she'll say, everything okay? Then she will call. She says, nahi. So, there is someone for you. That is one. Okay. The second thing is, when I was at IIT, there was no crash. Now you have to go on time to this class. So what we had decided is we will take different class timings. And my child would be in her place when she would go to take the class, and her child would be at my place when I would go to take the, so we used to make a group and we would help each other. And that is what we lack. If we can help each other in some way or the other, if not, just pick up the phone and talk or just give a hug. I will never forget. I have a colleague here, Nima. I cannot forget the day when she came and hugged me and said, Anuradda, I know what you're going through. Okay, that makes so much of a difference. That just gives you enough confidence. And when I say me time, I talk. That's what I do. I network. And I manage to get some of the other solution if I have a problem. And I agree with you, Chitra, I should have talked about it. Talk to your friends. Friends are the most important people in your lives. Believe me. Agreed. I can't agree more. So, and I don't even know what more to say because it's so true.
This is very true in the work environment also, because what happens is many times, especially you are an engineer, you understand better, you're stuck with this problem. And as a woman, many women feel that going and asking for help means, no, I'm showing my weakness. So I don't want to talk about it. Whereas men don't have that kind of belief. So they go and talk and say, I have this problem. And somebody else will come and say, you know what, I have faced this problem. This is the way I solved it. So women have to get out of this mindset. That talking about your needs or your problem is showing your weakness. That's not true.
Right. But as a senior women, now that we are all of this age, at least I do something whenever I have a list, I randomly just set up a meeting with the women engineers, and I talked to them. During COVID, I have connected with many people, many of our employees. If they have problem, just like that, just to ask how they are, and then they open up. It's just a matter of time, and they open up. And this is my regular thing. Every week I talk to at least 1 or 2 women. I make it a point to do that. So it's been my regular mentorship program. My own personal mentorship program. I don't have to wait for any special program coming out.
All right. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. This was very inspiring. And I think we can go on and on, but then I think we will have to stop at some point of time. I think if any of the girls do want to reach out to you who are attending today, they will connect with us, and we'll be happy to connect them with you if they have any specific questions.
Most
we have
welcome.
shared a feedback form online. How we conduct these events and what you feel about that is very important to us. So we take our feedback very seriously. Please take a few minutes to fill the feedback form so that we know how to improve ourselves in conducting future programs like this. Once again, thank you very much, Dr. Ganesh, for being with us on this platform. This was, again, very, very inspiring and a lot to learn from you. And look forward to many, many more such associations together. So thank you so much. And before we break, I would like all of you to switch on your cameras at least for a few seconds so that my team can take a quick group photograph.
That'll be very nice. Hey, Chitra, you can put down your hand. Thank you so much, Priya, for this opportunity. Believe me, I enjoyed. It was a good recap of my life too.
Can we have more cameras on, please? All right, go ahead, Sheetal, and let us know when you're done.
Yeah, done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and have a good evening. Bye.